Perfect. So I'm going to kick off because we have so much content to cover, and I want to make sure that we have at least 10 minutes of Q&A towards the end as well. So welcome to everyone. Welcome, as I mentioned, to this workshop, Level Up Promotions and Sponsorship in the Workplace, a really interactive session delivered by me. And I'll tell you a bit about myself and the Now You're Talking Network shortly. Firstly, just wanted to say amazing thank you to We Are the City, and particularly Chantel, who's helped me kind of organize this event and enabled me to speak to you guys. So super excited. Brilliant. So going on to the next slide. So this is the Level Up workshop. And as I mentioned, this is on behalf of the Now You're Talking Network, which is a female millennial kind of professional and personal development community that I started about 3.5 years ago. So I've run this workshop multiple times, but I'm just as enthusiastic about it. And I think it's even more relevant in today's world when kind of the way we show up in the workplace is different and more difficult in a virtual environment. But there are definitely some tips we can all apply. So you can find out more about the Now You're Talking Network. Our handles on social media are @NYT Network. So I encourage you, if you find anything useful today, to tweet, share on Instagram. And yeah, let's dive straight in pretty much. And I hope you are as excited as I am. So as I promised, a bit about the Now You're Talking Network. So as I mentioned, it's a female millennial community which connects like-minded future leaders to opportunities and resources in real life and online. I guess in a more colloquial way, I would say my vision with the Now You're Talking Network is to be like a female millennial old boys club. I just felt like going into the corporate world myself, I realized your network is truly your net worth, that so many relationships and business relationships and deals were made based on people's network and who they knew. And I didn't think that was right, but in the short term, I was like, there's surely something I can do to support people who may be new to the corporate world to connect with others. So that's what I did when I envisioned starting this network, really providing a space for female millennials to motivate each other, to remove the stigma of talking about careers and personal development. So yeah, in terms of what our group provides, we have regular workshops like these. We have WhatsApp group communities, a monthly mailing list, and it's all about sharing knowledge, advice, and just, yeah, really supporting each other to level up. And our values, I really would say, are ambition, community, and empowerment. So everyone in the group is ambitious. They want to get to the next level. They kind of give to get, so that's the community vibe. And they want to empower people, whether you know them or not. We can all play a part in empowering others. So as I mentioned, if you don't have a notepad or a pen, do try and grab one because we will be quite interactive, or at least your phone to take some notes as well. And as I mentioned, on social media, we are @NYT Network. So again, if you want to find out more about the network, you can do so online. So just as a bit of a quick intro to myself, so my name is Mary Agbesanwa. I'm a management consultant at PwC, and I'm also a careers blogger and kind of content creator. I would say my two passions in life are I'm really passionate about the disruption of the financial services industry and what that means for financial inclusion and democratizing access to financial services products. But I'm also super passionate about enabling millennials to tap into their full potential. I meet so many amazing women and young people that just have so much energy and ideas within them, but just haven't been able to kind of tap into it and really thrive. And that's really what my life mission is to do. I also co-run the network with the amazing Lola, who's a product analyst. So you might have seen her around with me sometimes because we're always together when we can be. So yeah, you can find out a bit more about us, but we're really passionate about this space. So just before I really kick off in terms of the workshop, just to give you a bit more flavor about what the network does, we do host a whole range of events, but as I mentioned, it's all about kind of sharing opportunities, resources. So we do kind of career coaching calls. We want to keep kind of talking about careers and personal development fun. So we've been going hard on Instagram Live, having Instagram Live discussions on kind of salary negotiation, imposter syndrome, confidence building, emotional intelligence on a fortnightly basis throughout lockdown, and that's been really good. We host level up workshops like this one, and annually we host a side hustle showcase, which this year will be a virtual month-long showcase in September. And that's really just about, that was just because I recognized that so many amazing female millennials or women generally have side hustles outside of their day jobs, but they don't necessarily have the confidence or maybe are equipped with the skills to shout about what they do. So why can't we have an annual day, now a month, to shout about what female millennials are doing, and really provide them with the platform to share the businesses that they have. So if any of that resonates with you, do check us out on our Linktree or on social media as well. So let's dive straight into the workshop. So as I mentioned, it's going to cover promotions and sponsorship, and it will be really interactive. And it will start off with kind of a poll question, some theory, and then an exercise / worksheets. So let's dive in. Let me know in the chat if you're ready, because then I'll be ready to go and be amped up. But I'm super excited to cover these two topics. And as I mentioned, there's no better time for us to be thinking about kind of visibility, as well as, are we making sure that we have the right sponsors in our organization? Yes, I can see a couple of you are motivated. So let's dive straight in. So firstly, I wanted to start off with a poll. So Chantel's kind of going to help me launch this poll. So do take part in this poll. So this is really just to get us thinking about promotion. And when I'm talking about promotion, it's really, as you guys know, it's an employee's proactive pursuit of a higher ranking or reward as, I guess, justification for good performance. So in terms of your experience with performance reviews or going for promotion, how do you usually feel? Are you confident and clear and you're like, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it? Or do you find it hard to articulate what you've done? Or do you feel like you've lacked the support around you to guide you through the process? Let me know. And if you're D other, just let me know in the chat as well. So I'll just give that, we've just got about 40 seconds left on that. 55 of you have voted. It looks like about 40% are around B. I find it hard to articulate what I've done. Let's keep it going in. Got about 20 more people to go. Okay, let's end the poll there. But it looks like 41% of you picked B, which is usually the case. And that's exactly why I wanted to launch this poll. I think at the end of the day, a lot of us know what the promotion process is in our organizations, particularly if you're working at bigger corporates. But actually, when it comes to positioning your value and what you contribute, that's the difficulty. And I'm sure we've all heard about kind of the Hewlett-Packard research, how that men may apply for promotion when they feel like they might reach 60% of criteria. But as women, we're like looking at what we can't do and saying, kind of discounting ourselves and saying, actually, I can't do that and I can't do that. Maybe I just need another year in this position, and we want to feel comfortable before we launch in. And that's what I'm really here to challenge you guys on today. We don't have to feel comfortable. We can go for it, because if you're going to go into a role and you already know how to do it, who wants to do that? That's boring. So into some theory. Let me know what you think of that. Do you resonate with that message? And if you put any of the other answers, let me know as well. But just to start off with some theory around promotion, I just wanted to read this quote from Julie Vessel, who's the Chief Talent Officer at Mono. And it reads, "You are the author, which means you are entitled to talk about your career, to talk about your opportunity, and to have ideas on what you want to do, be experienced. Raise your hand, let your intentions be known, double down on your strengths, write your own story." So again, super, super powerful. And why I love this quote, like I literally love it, is because it's essentially about the importance of advocating for yourself, being your own #1 champion at work. And I think if we're honest, we could all do that a bit more. And I'm really a strong advocate of how we can do that through social media, through internal kind of messaging tools. How are you making sure that you're advocating for yourself on what you're working on? So then I wanted to develop a bit more in terms of the promotion theory. And there's a really great article by Harvard Business Review that goes into 4 habits that hold women back. And I just wanted to walk you guys through these habits. So the first, again, let me know if any of these resonate with you. The first is reluctance to claim achievements. What we need to recognize, and what we probably know from observing others, is that being modest in the workplace doesn't help. So saying, when someone's like, oh, you did a great piece of work, or I heard you were involved in that project, and you're like, oh, it was nothing. I mean, I didn't really work that hard, or we all did it, and blah, blah, blah. But in your head, you're really thinking, I did a couple of late nights, I worked really hard, but you just have this reluctance to claim your achievements. And I think we should really try and not do that. And instead of saying, oh, it was nothing, actually saying, oh, thank you so much. I worked really hard on that. I'm happy to walk you through the detail of what I've done. So I think a lot of us have those opportunities to shout about what we do, but we're sometimes kind of pushing them away because we don't want to seem kind of full of ourselves. So really reflect on that. Have you been in similar situations, and have you kind of dusted off work that you actually should be rightfully claiming? Secondly, expecting others to notice and reward your hard work. I think that's one thing that I really found as well. So just the idea that you're going to come into work, have your head down, just be scribbling away, and thinking that the key to success at work is about how hard you work, and not knowing that actually it's not just about how hard you work, you equally have to shout about what you do. And just thinking, I find that I have had in our coaching conversations, a lot of conversations with young women and people in the workplace who would just think, oh yeah, I don't know why they're not promoting me. I'm working really hard. Like, they should know I want to be promoted. And I think sometimes we do it ourselves a disservice with that by saying, why aren't they noticing my hard work? Because sometimes people don't want to be promoted. And unfortunately, the way that most organizations work is you have to let your intentions be known. And some of us might be going into a new performance year or ending a performance year. Were you making your intentions known as you entered the year? Were you saying to the relevant people, this year I really want to do X? Because you have to do that. Because I know that when someone tells me, oh, this year I really want to make promotion, I'll just always be thinking, oh, Mary says she wants to make promotion. Mary said, and it just helps rejig that in their mind. So how can you do that more? Thirdly, overvaluing expertise. So I find that this happens a lot, especially with women, maybe women in tech, in more technical roles, where you say, oh, when I know X skill, or when I know how to do SQL and Alteryx and Power BI, then I will apply for that promotion. And it's kind of that insecurity that actually we don't know everything. And what I think we need to remember here is that you can't know everything, and that you shouldn't be trying to kind of pigeonhole yourself based on how much you know. Instead, remember that as you actually rise through the ranks, it's actually less about your expertise, but more about knowing when you need it and knowing who you can call on. I've worked with so many amazing leaders, and actually when they go and get staff, they don't open a book, or like they literally call on other people for support. They call on SMEs. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't find an area where you're an SME, but really don't overvalue expertise and stop that and hinder you from promotion. And finally, the fourth habit they found from their research is falling into the perfection trap. Again, so this is saying you're not going to be happy unless you're perfect at doing something. Your emails are perfect, your calendar is perfect, you turn up on time to every meeting, you look perfect. And I just feel like, especially as women, we kind of fall into this trap sometimes, where we just want to portray this image of being perfect. And what we need to realize is perfection is unattainable, it's not realistic, and no one should strive for that. And sometimes people have this mindset of like, if I never mess up, if I'm just perfect, I'll never get fired, and eventually I'll get that promotion. But really, getting a promotion or standing out in the workplace is all about being a bit rebellious, being an entrepreneur, coming up with new ideas. And to do that, you can't be perfect. So hopefully some of those habits, or maybe even all of them, might resonate with you. Let me know in the chat. But this is just a bit of theory about promotion and why I think we should really be talking about this more. So as I mentioned, we'll now dive into a bit of an exercise. So this is an individual exercise. We'll just take 3 minutes. But I want you guys to start owning your workplace achievements. And the purpose of this exercise is just to start getting comfortable talking about your wins and keeping a record of them. So in this exercise, we're going to start building something called an achievements list. So I want you guys to spend the next 3 minutes till 12:20 in the UK to write a list of all of your workplace achievements, however big or small, in the last year. So yeah, I'll just pause there. We're going to take 3 minutes, and I really just want you to get comfortable. And some things might come to your mind straight away, some awards maybe, or projects that were notable that you were involved in, but even smaller things. Did you coach anyone? Did you gain any new skills? I think we really need to get comfortable with documenting what we're doing. And this is something I do personally. So I'll talk a bit more about that after the 3 minutes, but we'll just pause here so you guys can do that. And keep pushing through, even if you can't think of anything. I will also share this template, which is on the next slide. So if you're just wondering how to kind of organize your table, you can have a date, the achievement title, and achievement detail. And this is kind of the worksheet we have when we do this sheet in person. So please use this as a framework if you wish. Perfect. I'll just give it a minute and a half. Keep pushing through, keep writing. Perfect. Just about 30 seconds more. And I've seen in the chat as well, people asked about the recording, so you will get that. Brilliant. So hopefully you guys have started to populate your achievements list. As I mentioned, I find this super, super helpful. And I think especially in a virtual world, we need to be thinking about how we're documenting, showcasing, and articulating our worth. Yeah, I know from my own personal experience that I've been posting on LinkedIn recently, and LinkedIn really feels more active than ever. There are so many people on there, so many people who want to engage, like, and show that they're supporting and supporting their colleagues and their friends. So again, LinkedIn, social media is a great way to kind of shout about what you're doing. So yeah, let me know in the chat how you guys found that exercise. Was it easy? Was the first minute easy? Did it start to get uncomfortable or a bit weird? Someone in the chat also asked a great question about how do you make sure you're doing this regularly and not just at year end or maybe at the beginning of the year. And I guess the way I do it is, so I have my achievements list in an Excel spreadsheet. I update it every fortnight, so every Sunday, every 2 weeks on a Sunday. And I just spend about maybe half an hour just adding any recent achievements, however big or small. And that means, I know we've just finished our performance year and I had over 200 things from the last performance year. And that's not for me to gloat, but that's really to say that when you're doing it on a regular basis, you get more comfortable with celebrating your small wins. So then I had really big things on there, but I had smaller things. And it was just so amazing at the end of the performance year to read back on that and be like, oh, wow, I did that and I did that. And if anyone's like me, like my memory is actually so bad, like once I've achieved one goal, I'm on to the next one. So it's such a great way to document. And I really, really would encourage you guys to do so. We also have a worksheet for this. So after this session, I can share it with Chantal and you guys can use that worksheet. But on the whole, that is really, we've covered now promotion. And what I really want us to remember as women is that self-promotion is important because it provides you with more opportunities. It helps shape your colleagues' perception of you, and therefore will help you with your progression and your promotion. And as I mentioned, you can use social media to support yourself, to self-promote. And that's really what we talk about when we're talking about kind of working on your personal brand. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, does it ever get too much? Like, is it a bit awkward? But I think the key thing to remember when we're thinking about personal brand and self-promotion and achievements is that when you keep an achievements list, it reminds you that it's based on facts. Like nothing in the list is made up, like everything is real. So that when you're promoting it, you remember that you're promoting the achievement, not necessarily yourself. And that for me, that mindset shift has really helped me, because whenever I feel nervous about kind of publishing something on Twitter or LinkedIn, I'm like, I want to share about that achievement, because if that was someone else, I would really want them to share that. So think of it in that way. And I really do think we need to change our perception about self-promotion. As I said, it's not based on facts, and therefore it's not bragging. And lastly, I would just mention shine theory, which is the theory by Anne Friedman, who is an American. I think she's a philosopher, but she's so great. And she just talks about shine theory, which is the idea that you should just try and shine the light on other women and showcase their achievements. So again, how can you use achievements to do the same? Brilliant. So that's promotion covered. Let's dive into sponsorship. So again, Chantal's nicely going to help me launch this quick poll. Do you have a career sponsor? Let's talk about it. Yes, no, don't know. You don't really know what a career sponsor is. Yeah, let's dive in and see what you guys think. And just for anyone who might not be aware, so about 60% of you have voted now. A sponsor is someone usually within your organization who knows you, who knows your potential, and who advocates for your success. And I think why a sponsor is helpful is because they're helping remove obstacles to your progress, as well as find opportunities for you. A sponsor is someone who is willing to champion your progress. And I think in my mind, a sponsor is someone who's ideally about 10 plus years ahead of you in the game. They really understand kind of where you want to take your career, and they're the go-to person for your more strategic career decisions. It's not like, oh, I've got this kind of day-to-day issue that I want to get advice on. It's more like, should I take this new job? Should I apply for that internal role? Those kind of things. So I can see that of people listening on the call, 67% of people don't have a career sponsor. Okay, that's really interesting. And usually, again, that is how this works. I've just shared the results with you guys. 60% of you don't have a career sponsor. So again, we really need to be having this conversation about this topic. And before someone asks me, I guess the difference between a sponsor and a mentor is, as I was saying, ideally a sponsor is in your organization, can pull some like strategic, can help you with strategic advice and knows how to navigate your organization. Whereas a mentor is kind of more situational advice. They're maybe like a few years ahead of you, someone who's more experienced, definitely should be a high performer. I'm hoping people can hear me all right, because I'm seeing a few raised hands. Let me just check everything's okay. Can everyone hear me okay? I've seen like 3 hands. Okay, raised hands. Okay, I'm going to continue, but if it's questions, please use the Q&A part of the Zoom, and we'll get to them at the end. I'll try and speed through. So yes, as I mentioned, a mentor is more about situation advice, short to medium term, as opposed to a sponsor, which in my eyes is more long-term strategic advice. So hopefully that clears up some of the questions you guys had. So let's dive again into some theory. Again, so I'm going to start off with a quote. You can see that we love quotes, and now you're talking. And this quote is by Bob Proctor, who's the motivational speaker from the US. A mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself, and helps bring it out of you. And I think this quote, again, is so powerful because when we're thinking about kind of sponsors or mentors, it's someone who actually maybe sees a bit of themselves in you and it's like, actually, I understand your full potential and I can help you find opportunities that match your potential. And I know as someone personally, for me, I've been on a recent journey of kind of starting a new role. I started last Monday. And that was really powerful in terms of actually calling on my sponsors and saying, is this role aligned to my career interests? Is this a good role for me to kind of start charging ahead doing? And really getting their advice, I found really invaluable. So I wanted to also talk a bit about what an ideal sponsor looks like. So let's dive into this. So I'll just read a couple of things on this word cloud. So supporting you with strategic decisions to do with your career. Again, as I mentioned, not kind of situational advice, but strategic decisions like moving country, moving job, starting a new role, things like that. Sharing their senior network with you. Again, so powerful. I think by having a sponsor, they can say, oh, do you know this person? Or do you know that person? And as we know, and as I said at the beginning, your network is really your net worth. Unfortunately, it's just the world that we live in. So how are you making sure that you have someone who can introduce you to senior people and really trust you and share their network with you? again, finding stretch opportunities for you. So finding those opportunities that you maybe would be nervous to self-elect for, or maybe opportunities, as we all know, and why I started the network, aren't even public. Like, I've had sponsors recently share things with me that are like, oh, this hasn't even been released yet, but I think you would be great to do this or do that. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I really think I would really encourage any of you that don't have a sponsor yet to really make sure that you have someone like that who is advocating for you and sharing such opportunities. And as I mentioned, not for situational advice, but definitely you need that. So do have a mentor. And mentors and sponsors will be looking for a high action to advice ratio. And why I really wanted to call this particular hours and why we talk about it a lot is because a high action to advice ratio just means that when you have your mentoring or your sponsorship sessions, whether it's just like a virtual coffee catch up, are you actually implementing the advice that they give you? So I'm sure we've all been mentors as well. And the worst thing as a mentor is to have the same conversation with someone. They ask you for advice and you give them advice, and then they come back a month later and they're like, so yeah, I'm still stuck. And you're like, did you do what I said? And they're like, oh no, because I got distracted. And you're just like, well, this is a waste of my energy and waste of my time. And I think that reminds us that the relationship really does have to be reciprocal to some stage. And also you have to take, especially if you trust their advice, you should try and implement it. And as I mentioned, an ideal sponsor is at least 10 years ahead of you in your industry, thinking about someone who has that strategic oversight, who can say to you, oh, you're starting that new role, and that aligns with kind of your longer term career ambitions. And personally, for me, I know not everyone believes this, but I really think if you can, your sponsor should be someone in the same organization as you, because they, again, understand how to navigate that organization. Maybe there's chances that won't work. Maybe you work in a small organization, or you just don't get on with anyone who's senior in your organization, and you have kind of short to medium term plans to get out. Therefore, it won't work. But I think especially if you work in a bigger organization, I would really challenge you to find a sponsor within your organization. So hopefully this has helped. Let's dive into a bit of exercise. So a bit of the worksheet about finding your ideal sponsor. So again, we're just going to take a couple of minutes. I'll probably give you guys about 4 minutes to think about the qualities of your ideal sponsor. So what values do you look up to in more senior individuals? And I know that I think it's about 40% of you said, or just under 40% of you said that you already have sponsors. This is a great time to do a rain check and say, is my current sponsor achieving everything that I hoped? And maybe this is a great time to have get another one, or just to have a virtual coffee catch up and say, actually, this is what I'm really thinking about in my career. Do you have any advice? So again, I'll give you a template, and we'll just take kind of 4 minutes here till 12:35 in the UK to really just think about qualities and attributes of an ideal sponsor. So again, you could start every sentence with my ideal sponsor is, or my ideal sponsor works in, stuff like that. Any questions, again, Q&A box or the chat function. Perfect. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions actually as we do this exercise. Hope that's not too distracting. Kelly has asked, should the sponsor should be part of your same department? Personally, I don't necessarily think so. Hopefully they can extend their network to someone that they think works in your department. And also I think it depends on how big your department is. Like if your department is quite small and you want someone who has a bit of an objective view, then I think, yeah, you can find someone outside of your department. But if you're committed to that business area, you want to succeed in that team, then I think you should try and find a sponsor within that team. And she's also asked from the same background like you. That's a really good question. And I think personally, I would challenge ourselves to not just try and find sponsors that look like us. I know for me, Black woman working in financial services, it's really hard to find a sponsor, unfortunately, in the UK that is like me. So I didn't even try and like kind of use that as a bracket. But I think there's something good about kind of challenging yourselves to build a relationship with someone who doesn't look like you. But I know that different people have different perceptions of that. Personally, I think for mentors, I might look maybe closer to someone that looks like me, but not necessarily for sponsors. Sophia's asked a great question about how do you find a sponsor. Let's definitely address that in the Q&A, but I think it's part of just trying to kind of scan your network and really understand who are the kind of key influential people within my organization that I should be chatting to, that can help me with my career direction, that I just get on with. Yeah, do you get on with them? Are they a high performing individual? And do they seem to be kind of giving and supportive of talent? Because I think one thing I didn't mention on that kind of spider diagram thing is that actually having a good kind of sponsee, if you want to say, is really beneficial to the sponsor, because it makes them look good. So if you are doing really great stuff, your sponsor also looks good, because then they can say, oh, Mary's great, she did that. And yeah, I talked to Mary and she does, and they're staying in the loop with how you are thinking. So I think it's definitely, that's why I say it's reciprocal in two-way. Like they are definitely getting benefit from associating themselves with your success, and vice versa. I usually, when we do this face-to-face, I usually tell a funny story of just like how I found my first workplace sponsor, which was basically just yeah, emailing a partner at my organization and just saying, I really love the work you do. I would really love to, if you could be my sponsor. And then he replied and was like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to quit. This is so embarrassing. And actually he was like, oh no, because I've done this before and people aren't really committed. And he was probably talking about the high action to advice ratio. And he was like, if I'm going to be your sponsor, how are you going to showcase that you're committed, and what value are you going to add? And maybe he was being a bit harsh, but he was being honest. So then I sent another email back and I just said, okay, this is what I think I can provide. We can meet monthly, face-to-face or virtually if that doesn't work. And then we just trialed that. And yeah, I guess it started off as kind of a ish mentoring, but kind of has definitely evolved into sponsoring. And is such a big advocate. When I started this new role, he was definitely someone that I spoke to. So I would really encourage us to think about, yeah, part of it is kind of just, I guess, shooting your shot and just being willing to ask people. And I think most people, if you're really clear about why you've asked them and you're not just sending blanket emails out to people, they'll be willing to kind of consider that. So we're over on time, sorry, I just realized. Perfect. So let me know in the chat again, how did you find that exercise? Was it easy? Was it difficult? You might have some more questions about sponsorship that I can answer during the Q&A as well, because I think we're doing quite well for time, which could just mean that I spoke really quickly and you guys have like, yeah, there's a couple of questions. So I'm definitely eager to get through to those. But yeah, that's really it. I've covered two topics, promotion and sponsorship. And just I want to reflect on some of the key takeaways from this session. And I'm happy to hear from you guys any key takeaways as well. But when we're talking about promotion, it was really around articulating your worth and how important that is. Really, really important, especially in a virtual world. You really need to, unfortunately, we're hearing every other day companies that are making people redundant or things like that. And I think the way we define workplace visibility in a remote first world has really changed. So the way that you articulate your worth, some quick tips are just like, how often are you CCing your kind of career coach or your line manager into emails that have your achievements, maybe feedback from clients? I think we really need to show up in terms of workplace visibility and shouting out about the successes of others, but also ourselves. So really just overusing the CC line and just being like, FYI, please see below, and things like that. Working with a supportive colleagues to cheer each other on. So I'm a big advocate of kind of workplace friendships and really using those in a positive way. Again, thinking about shine theory, if it's another woman, and just think about how we can cheer each other on. It's not easy, kind of navigating our workplaces, but how can we make sure that we're kind of championing what we do, what other people do, because that makes you look good as well. Thirdly, keeping an achievements list. As I said, I have an Excel spreadsheet achievements list, update it every performance year into a new sheet, but otherwise update it every fortnight. And it's super, super powerful because it's all about documenting what you've done, however big or small. And as they say, when we have technology, why rely on your memory if it's as bad as mine? And yeah, point 4, which I discussed, sharing your achievements on social media, super, super powerful. Making sure that you're just shouting about what you're doing, and thinking of it, as I discussed, the mindset shift. So it's not necessarily self-promotion, but it's promoting that achievement, which is based on facts, and you did that. And you should be kind of, yeah, you should be proud of claiming it. So any other takeaways, let me know. When we think about sponsorship, some of the key takeaways that we literally just discussed is making sure you have a workplace sponsor. I think it was 67% of you listening right now, Joan, and that's okay. No better time to start than today or tomorrow or very soon. Hopefully that exercise helped you start to kind of map out what a workplace sponsor looks like. But otherwise, I think it's really important to make sure that you have one. And making sure, so the next point is around not needing to call it a sponsorship relationship. Again, it doesn't have to be a sponsorship relationship, and you don't have to kind of call it that. So what I mean by that is you might just have a senior person who advocates for you, open doors for you, shares a network with you, but you don't need to walk around like, oh, so-and-so is my sponsor, so-and-so is my sponsor. Because sometimes people get intimidated by these terms. They're like, oh my God, is this going to mean like 10 meetings, blah, blah, blah. They kind of get stressed out about that. So I wouldn't even put the pressure on in terms of labeling it as such, unless you feel it's required. And then thirdly, using schemes to help you. There are so many amazing schemes that support people in terms of mentorship and sponsorship, perhaps within your organization. If not, maybe do you want to start something? But there are also external schemes as well, sometimes industry specific. And finally, something I think we should all think about, being a mentor and a mentee. Making sure that we are giving back as well. So not only do you want to make sure that you kind of have a sponsor and a mentor, but are you a mentor to someone else? And how are you making sure that you're kind of sharing your gems and what you've learned with the next generation? For me, I know with the Now You're Talking Network, we've had 2 university interns this summer, and we just kind of shared them everything that we've done to set this up. And it's just been so amazing, and they're so eager and they're so keen. And I'm just like, if someone did that for me when I was in university, I would be buzzing. Like, I would be so happy. So how can we do that in our day jobs and other things we might do as well? So again, I speak really quickly, but I hope you guys have found that really useful and have found some things to reflect on. Maybe you're going to start doing things differently as well. And let me know in the chat anything else you've learned or any follow-up questions, because we're about to dive into the Q&A. But before we do that, I wanted to share with you about our Thrive workshop. So as part of the Now You're Talking Network, we hold workshops like this quite often. We're currently doing a series called Thrive, which is all about kind of, how do you thrive within the workplace? I think it follows on quite nicely from this one, Level Up. And it's actually based on a theory by Harvey Coleman called the PI methodology, which you guys can Google, which is about how performance, image, and exposure are the 3 components for career success. And actually, it's actually astounding, but there's so much research on this. Performance is only 10% of what is required for career success. Image is 40%, and exposure is 60%. Image is 30%, exposure is 60%. And what I mean by that is that a lot of us, especially I think I touched on it in promotion, a lot of us are thinking about performance and thinking it's the be all and end all. Have I got this? Have I got that? But actually, performance is only 10% of the game. And I don't mean that you should just suddenly just log off today and not log back on. I mean that kind of, if we're being honest, in most of our organizations, high performance is a given. Like, no one's expecting you to come into work and not deliver. Like, high performance, good performance is the given. So actually, in terms of thinking about career success, you need to do more than that. You actually need to think about image, which is not just about the way you look, but also about kind of the way you carry yourself, the way you give first impressions, especially in a virtual world? How are you kind of, shaping first impressions, being confident? Are you aware of kind of what people would say about you when you're not in the room? And exposure, again, shouting about your achievements. Does it come to kind of the year-end process and then people are like, who is Mary? I don't even know her. Like, what does she look like? When mine jog my memory, like, you don't want people to say that. You want people to know who you are. So how are we making sure we do that? So we're almost at the end of the Thrive Workshop series. We just have the exposure session left on Thursday, the 20th of August. So if you guys are interested, you can just scan that QR code using the camera on your phone to attend. But honestly, it's been amazing so far. And there should be an option for you to get the recordings from the previous 2 sessions. But honestly, it's been super, super powerful. So if anyone is interested in kind of diving into the PI methodology, do kind of check out the Thrive Career Workshops. And same slide that I covered, just in case for anyone who missed it at the start, how to get involved in the network, vision boarding workshops, the side hustle showcase, level up workshops like this. We usually have one more topic added to level up, which is strategic relationship building. But we run this workshop really often, so you guys could probably attend and hear about that one. Instagram lives, we have another one on Thursday where I'm talking to a lawyer about kind of managing a corporate career and a side hustle, which should be interesting, and career coaching as well, which we do mainly around kind of having a growth mindset. So we're at 12:45, so hopefully we have 15 minutes for questions. But thank you guys so much. I really hope you've enjoyed this session. I've loved delivering it. Yes, I've loved all the kind of questions you guys coming through. I'm happy to take like some of those now as well. But as I mentioned, we're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and our email address is there if you want to sign up to our monthly mailing list, which is basically just opportunities and resources and just what people in the network are doing, which just blows my mind every month. So yeah.